D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025. The Game, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. Willie Donick will be joining us momentarily. He is stuck in traffic. We were stuck in the same traffic. If you're driving and you're within the sound of my voice, avoid Briley Parkway South near Opry Mills. There was an accident that shut down 2 lanes on Briley Parkway South. So if you're heading in that direction, don't go that way. Generally speaking, take it slow on a day like today, a nasty day in Nashville, Tennessee. So Willie was stuck in the same traffic that I was stuck in, but I was stuck in it first. So that's why I'm here. He'll be here momentarily. But I did get to play one of my favorite games, Derek Mason. It's called Try to Beat the ETA on Your GPS. And I beat it by 4 minutes.
Which means you are not doing what you're telling everybody else they need to be doing.
We have a show to do. There are
do
extenuating circumstances.
Yes. Exactly. So I get it.
There are extenuating circumstances here. I have a show to do.
Absolutely.
And it's not speeding if you don't get caught.
Yeah, see? Now.
That's the truth.
Hey, I never speed. I try to
Scout's honor. I am, hold on, let me do the math here. I am 36 years old, 36 and a half. I have never been pulled over for speeding, and I've been a licensed driver for 20 years.
Wow. Huh? Well, that's wonderful, man. Lucky you.
Yes.
Lucky you.
So,
do-gooder.
I'm going to be pulled over as soon as I leave here.
He did get pulled over for having his phone out.
I did get pulled over for using my phone.
Yeah. If I'm going to get pulled over, I don't want to get pulled over for using my phone. That's just
exactly.
Be
a rebel.
Exactly.
Get pulled over for speed a little bit.
Look at the guy and be like, no, and keep driving.
Like, oh yeah, you're not gonna pull me over.
No,
I keep
listen.
driving.
No, kids. If you have your phone, one, you shouldn't be texting and driving or anything else. But if you happen to have your phone in your hand and a cop come by, put it down. You know,
I'm wondering
and
how.
if he asks you to pull over, then you pull over.
I'm wondering how the cop knew, because it wasn't like I had my phone right up in my face.
Because even I can tell when people are on their phone.
That's fair.
You can just.
That's fair.
And then when you get on the side of them, you say, "Yep, you're on your phone."
Okay.
I can tell by how people drive, and if you look ahead, how their head is. Yeah, they're on their phone.
If they drift a little bit,
they're on their phone, or they're doing something. Let's just put it that way.
Fair enough. We have a slightly shortened program for you today. Tonight, Vanderbilt men's basketball takes on Texas Southern at Memorial Gym. A 6 p.m. tip-off. I can't talk already today. And a pregame show that starts at 5:30 right here on 102.5 The Game. So we will take you up to that pregame show for Vanderbilt men's basketball. That starts at 5:30. Nevertheless, we have a full show. Predators GM Barry Trotz will join us at 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock, not 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Elliotte Friedman of Sportsnet will join us at 5 o'clock. So a couple of hockey heavy hitters in the second half of today's program. But I actually want to start on something I saw just a couple of hours ago, Derek Mason. You proudly wore the number 85 for the Tennessee Titans for many years. After you left, Nate Washington wore number 85 for the Tennessee Titans. And I saw Nate Washington tweet a tweet from Jim Wyatt with a video of Christian Wilkerson. That's receiver Christian Wilkerson, Jim Wyatt writes, signed to the team's practice squad on Tuesday, decked out in scout team number 22 in Titans practice. The Titans are about to play the Seahawks. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you're on scout team, you often wear the number of a player on the other side.
Yes.
Rashid Shaheed wears number 22 for the Seattle Seahawks. And Nate Washington tweeted it and said this, quote, "It seems very minute, but when you talk culture and tradition, this is why they suffer in that department." Of course, Derrick Henry wore 22. Do you take the same umbrage with this as your fellow wide receiver who wore number 85 for the Tennessee Titans?
I get what he's saying. What we would do is you didn't wear the jersey, you just wore like this sort of apron you would put on almost, that had the numbers and the color of the team you're going to play. Now, do they still use that? I'm not sure. I know, for a while the quarterbacks will wear like this red flask on, but now they're given red jerseys, so you can't touch them. So that's what they've done, I think, with in a situation like that, because usually they give you a vest that has the number on there and of the guy in the color, and you would do that. But then that's just so much work having to keep up with them. And Willie comes in here like a tornado, just
Willie's here.
Breaking everything, man.
Jeff Fisher
Yeah.
bobblehead knocked down. Eddie George bobblehead knocked down.
He's taking out everybody, but
He's rattled. He's
They
rattled.
look fine. So
I know
that's
what
good.
I know. I know what Nate. I know what he means. I really do. But in this situation, it's like, man, you just can't get around it nowadays. You know, but he is right from this standpoint. That I'm not sure. You know, this iteration of the Titans really know much about the guys that, you know, from the past that preceded them. You know, I don't know how much history they know about those, you know, not how we went from Memphis to Nashville, and what we had the trailers and all this other stuff that built what they essentially are playing for now, or playing because of now. I don't think they really like tap into that. Like, I'm sure you can walk to that building. You probably ask 10 of them randomly. They probably wouldn't know who was on that 99 team other than probably Eddie, Steve. That's it. And it shouldn't be that way. Like, I know guys, I didn't play for the Detroit Lions, but I know a lot about the Detroit Lions because I followed that history. I know a lot about the San Diego Chargers because I was a Charger fan, so I know a lot about that old history, even the new. I know a lot about the Titans. I played for them, but I still keep up with them. Every iteration of this team, from the old to what it is now. And I'm not sure. So from that standpoint, I think he does have a point.
But what would you suggest the Titans do instead? Because, as I said, is it not common practice?
Yes, I don't know what they to do. You know, I don't know what they should do.
It's not like they're giving him Derrick Henry's number. Like
you know, it's one of these deals where Shaheed wears 22. So, okay, hey, listen, you are the guy that resembles him most, you know, by stature, speed, whatever, movement. So we're going to throw the 22 on you and go from there. You know, outside of that, I know where Nate is coming from. I don't have a big problem with it, but I understand what he's saying. But in this situation, I don't have a problem with it. It's what else are they going to do? I mean, wear 23, but Shaheed isn't 23, so you got to wear 22.
Hi, Willie.
Hello, guys.
Hey, Willie came in like a freight train, a bull in a China shop.
I don't know. I was trying to
come in softly.
No, well, yeah, I don't know what my interest was not good. My interest was not.
It was
good.
not smooth.
Not smooth at all.
Quite
like
unsmooth.
Like you in middle school trying to talk to that girl, and all of a sudden you start tripping and everything else.
I did that. I did that a few times. I tried to do the double back. I tried to go. I was requested by Adam to go a different route. I was in a pickle because I was behind you on the same route, coming from the Y at the normal time. So we'll never know if I would have made it. I think I would have made it on time if I had just gone the way I normally went, because it ended up being a lot worse going the other way.
Well, you're here.
I never got out of the neighborhood.
Did you
Once
put
I got on
Did you
Huh?
put in Waze to tell you where to go?
Yeah, but it changed quick because the whatever traffic issue you had cleared up, I think, right, Adam?
It cleared up more quickly than I anticipated. As I said,
I
one
see.
of my favorite games to play is beat the ETA on your GPS, which I did by roughly 4
It's a
minutes.
fun
So you were going.
I lost
You were
that
going to
game
take the route that he was on,
right, which
but,
is way closer from.
But
Now, if I go from my house, it's probably equidistant going. There's two different ways to go.
so you took the alternative, which he said take.
He said, don't go my way. Don't go the way that,
He said go the other way.
don't go Briley because there's a wreck.
Go the other way.
Went the other way, and it was even worse.
Sorry about that.
Sorry. That's
Just take it slow out there, people.
You two have more traffic issues. I mean, you two.
It's
I'll tell you what's
Stories
happening.
we could tell.
It's the hazard
Oh,
of
my
living on the
goodness.
east side of town.
The east side
He's
of town
nasty.
is now
I'm
officially
sorry.
in the traffic thing. It used to be like the great secret.
Oh,
Like there's
man.
no traffic on the east side. It's the best place to live. You're right near downtown. Nobody's
Everybody else figured that out.
not
too.
anymore.
Nope.
The secret's out.
Wasn't a great secret.
I used to get this
No.
look all the time when we first moved there. Oh, you live on the east side?
Yeah. Huh? Now it's the hip place.
Like,
to
oh,
be.
it's what's it like over there?
It's full.
I'm like, don't worry about it, man. It's great.
they speak another
Like,
language.
oh,
over there.
you know, there's that's like it's an older place. You know, there's a lot of. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's
good.
a different
It's
country.
good,
It's a
man.
different country,
Yeah.
man.
Now everybody's over there now.
Don't
It's
let-
like the great
Don't
Yogi
let
Berra once
anybody
said.
live over there.
Yeah.
Hey,
But
that's where the hipsters are moving.
The great Yogi Berra once said, "Nobody goes to that restaurant anymore. It's too crowded." That's the east side now.
Let's
Everybody went over there. The secret's out.
Oh man.
let's keep it on wide receivers.
Okay.
I have a question as the Titans prepare to take on the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday. Has a fan base ever loved a practice squad player more than Titans fans love Xavier Restrepo? I would love to know. And I understand, look, Calvin Ridley's out for the season. Tyler Lockett, he gone.
Mhm.
Alec Iomanner did not practice yesterday or today with a hamstring injury. Chim Dike practiced in full, I believe, both days, so he should be fine.
Mhm.
But the Titans' available wide receivers for Sunday against Seattle, Van Jefferson, Chim Dike, presumably, Mason Kinsey, and James Prochet. So why the hell not give Xavier Restrepo a shot? That's what a lot of people are asking. We've seen it plenty of times on the text line. Catch the strep. I would prefer not to catch the strep. But I just want to know, has a fan base ever loved a practice squad player more than Titans fans apparently love Xavier Restrepo?
I have a take on this.
Please.
I don't believe it's true love.
What kind of love is it?
I think it's just a game on the internet.
Nah.
I think it's a game on the internet. I think this is what people.
They're being catfished.
No, it's not catfish. It's just to pass the time.
Oh.
They have nothing better to do. It's just a fun. Hey, let's get our friends and let's see if we
They-
can all do something. Oh, this would be fun to have Restrepo. It's not true love.
They love the thought of having Restrepo, but they don't love to have the Restrepo. For the
No,
right
it's
reasons.
nothing to do with Restrepo the person.
Mhm.
It's not like all of these people are talent evaluators and they really know anything. It's just a fun game. And I will give you an example of another game
Mhm.
that happens. Okay. Adam's familiar with this game. There's always a guy on a hockey team who's just the guy. And he's not treated like a real person. It's just a game that people play. Oh, they're playing so-and-so in the lineup again. What are the chances he scores? They're sitting out so-and-so. They have to play so-and-so. Like it just becomes a thing that happens. And that's what's happened here. People fell in love with an idea way back in the spring when there was no football to watch or anything. And so they've been on this game. And now we have to play the game out. Right now, we might actually see the guy in the game. So now we really have to see the end of the game, right? We have to.
Got to play it out.
I'll give you a specific one. Remember, Cole Smith, for a long time, didn't score a goal in a game. That became just a game. And I didn't understand, right? I was watching Cole Smith, the player. I'm around my unique perspective. I'm around Cole Smith, the person. I know him. I met his parents. Like, he's a real person. Right?
Not some trinket.
These aren't just pieces on a phone or, pieces on a game board or just for our entertainment. But that's kind of what happens with social media and fandom. I get it, right? It's just part of it. Not everybody knows Cole Smith like I know. But it's like it became like a thing like, oh, my God, they're playing him again. And it's been how many? Like you could sit there and explain to those same people, here's why Cole Smith is playing. Here's what he's good at. This is what he does well. Not everybody on the team is going to score a lot of goals. He does need to score some goals eventually, and he did eventually. And I thought the internet was going to break when he finally scored a goal. Do you remember this date, Adam?
Vaguely.
I'm sure it was a memorable day, and you didn't play this game. You were not in this game, I don't think. But
No, I don't know if I was in the Colts.
when the I don't know the people. I'm not sure what they did that day when he actually scored a goal, but it was a big thing.
There's definitely a party.
And he's
probably.
actually scored a few goals since then, and he's become. I think he's won the fan base over a little bit since then in the last 3 years or so since this phenomenon started. But that's an example of. I think what we're seeing was Restrepo. Am I wrong? I don't think it's true love, Adam. It's not true love.
I was gonna put.
They
it
don't
as
love him. The person.
I was gonna.
They
put
don't
it-
love him. They just think it's a game.
I was gonna put him as the frat kid who makes it on the basketball team as the walk on, and then like when they're up big,
Right. You put him in.
put him in.
Right. Then he's got to
Put
shoot
him
it.
in.
Shoot it.
And then he shoots it, but he misses by a mile. But he's in. He's in. He's there.
No, but that kid-
Everyone's happy.
but if he ever hits one, though,
Oh no, yeah, the place
the place goes crazy.
I remember.
Listen, I am not getting into that. Okay, I'm not.
Derek, is it true
You know
love?
it's true. DMX.
Yes
You know
or
it's
no?
true.
Is it true love? Willie says no.
It's not true love.
You remember the frat kid that
He
joined
said,
the football
"Put
team
him
as a
in."
walk on?
It's a
Put him
situationship.
in.
It's a situationship.
Okay, here's the thing. One, I just think I find it just I just find it I'm flabbergasted that people like what is it about? Like, why did they latch on? I think it's the name. If you look when I look
I
at the
think
name,
you're right.
I think
If
of
his name was Jim Smith,
they wouldn't care, but
Yeah.
his name is Xavier. You think he's a superhero? Like, if you put Restrepo out there, he could do anything.
Right.
Like, he,
Dude, he's a cool nickname, X, man.
he can do he can do reverses. He can do long passes. He can catch any pass because his name is Xavier Restrepo. Let's see what he can do. He did it for Cam in Miami. He was his everything. We can get that here in Nashville. He reminds me of an X-Man. Xavier Restrepo. That's the young guy. Put him in. He can do it. Look at him. His arms stretch an extra 3 feet. He can catch anything. They're like, hey, listen, we tried all of these other guys y'all threw at us. Why not try the guy that was a part of, your quarterback success at Miami? So I get that part. But obviously there's a reason they haven't elevated. He's probably just not ready. In what form or fashion, I don't know. Maybe it's the playbook. Maybe they don't think he's physically ready. I don't know what it is. But in a situation like this, you would think that, okay, what is it going to take for this young man to hit the field? Because you don't even have to put him in you don't even have to be playing really. Just activate him. He can play special teams. And that may be the problem. And that's what people don't understand. The special teams portion of that may be the problem. Because if you are my fourth, fifth, and even my third wide receiver, you must play special teams. And maybe that is the problem why they don't elevate him.
If we went to Broadway, remember the Titans several years ago? They did their schedule release where they asked random people to name the logos. It was well done. If we went to Broadway and said, Xavier Restrepo, football player or character portrayed by Antonio Banderas, how many people would say football player?
Not me.
it would be a split. I'm going to say it's about a 50. I'd say football player wins 55-45.
Okay. 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Has a fan base ever loved a practice squad player more than Titans fans apparently love Xavier Restrepo? Willie is not buying it. He thinks it's fake. He thinks the love is all fake. 615-737-1025. We'll get into that, and we'll talk actually more important things that relate to the Titans. Chase and Big Joe will be broadcasting live at the all-new Circus Sportsbook Kentucky in the Mint Gaming Hall this Monday prior to the Monday night football game. The matchup, Panthers against 49ers.
Jason.
feel like this might be the week we see your buddy Restrepo?
I mean, we're going to see, man. I mean, I know A7 going to be ready. I got chemistry with him, so, if he get a shot this week, I make sure, he'll know what to do, and if he get the ball, he's going to show y'all what he can do.
That was Cam Ward on his buddy Xavier Restrepo. Could we see Xavier Restrepo this week?
I'm gonna tell you what that sound like.
What's that?
That sounds like when you and your buddies are together, and one of your buddies asks, "Hey man, can you go out?" And your other buddy look like, nah, man. Or yeah, knowing good and well, your wife ain't letting you go out. I'm saying like, I'm answering like, I hope so, but knowing good and well, it ain't gonna happen. So you got to sort of like save face, like, yeah, I hope so, but I know if I can, y'all just be ready because I'm gonna be out. Nah, Mrs. like, nah, you ain't going nowhere. And Cam knows that. He's like, man, I make sure he's ready, but I'm not. I don't think he's going to see himself, on the active squad no time soon.
Some of your reaction on our text line, driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com, 615-737-1025. One texter says, it's because we have nothing else to hold on to. We really already know everything else sucks, so we hold on to hope that he doesn't, meaning Restrepo, because of what he has done with Cam already. Another texter says, Xavier Restrepo helped make Cam Ward the player he was, and he is, and he's one of the University of Miami's leading receivers. We know he can catch, which has been kind of an issue for the Titans. Give him a chance. What's the worst that could happen? That should be the tagline for the 2025 Tennessee Titans. What's the worst that could happen?
I think that's a good point. I like the first point. I think the first point is the point. There's really nothing else to amuse us when it comes to it. It's not been an exciting set of Sundays watching these guys, and so people want to be entertained. That's why the love isn't real.
Here's what's going to happen.
Not real.
Here's what's going to happen.
They just would want something fun.
This would be the funniest outcome. Xavier Restrepo gets called up to the active roster.
Don't pull a Rudy.
I'm not talking. No, I'm not doing that. Rudy was offside. We discussed this yesterday. No, Van Jefferson is not going to walk into Mike McCoy's office and say, let Xavier play today. I'm out. He's not going to do that. But this would be the funniest outcome. Xavier Restrepo on his first target in a meaningful NFL game scores a big touchdown. Then somebody is going to set that highlight to My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. And that will just play over and over and over again. That's what's going to happen.
Part of the game. That's part of the game that you play.
But I think a lot of it is, all jokes aside, a lot of it is because I believe that he doesn't have a place on the special teams unit. So that's why they haven't, activated him to the active roster. So, and that's okay. That's why, guys are sent there is to develop in whatever area they need to develop in. And he needs to develop as a wide receiver, but the quickest way to find yourself on a active roster is through special teams. And I'm not sure that he fits what they want to do from the special teams unit, because I'm not going to put it on his play. I think the kid has done enough and showed enough that, at least see what he can do out there. He's not going to do any worse. If he drop a ball, then so be it. Pull him out. It don't matter. If drop two, pull him out. He can't play. He's not ready. But I think a lot of it has to do with the special teams aspect of it. Because again, if you're not the top two wide receivers in today's football, even that third wide receiver, you got to have some value on a special teams unit. And right now, it just seems like he doesn't have value to the special teams unit.
Let's talk about something more meaningful relating to the Tennessee Titans. This is a question we've been meaning to get to. Has the post-Brian Callahan era, which is short, about a month and a half, month-ish, has the post-Brian Callahan era shed any light on what kind of coach the Titans should hire? Based on what we've seen since the Titans made their coaching change, Have your thoughts on what kind of coach the Titans should hire changed at all?
No, not necessarily. For me, at least. I do, just looking at this team and the lack of leadership. And when I say lack, I mean they don't have enough leadership in that locker room. I just think and then you just start to look, from afar, things that, goes on or whatnot. It's like they need a coach that's going to come in there and, would have had to accomplish something. A guy that comes in with a pedigree, a guy that understands, again, winning, losing, building, developing, but also is stern. Whether you're Jeffrey Simmons or the last guy on the roster, there's a standard that's going to be set. And no matter who you are, if you don't go along with those standards, then your time here may end up being shorter than what you think. Not that I'm going to throw you out or something on the first offense, but there's a standard that we're going to set. And I'm just telling you from what I experienced as a NFL player, whether it was Jeff Fisher or it's John Harbaugh, they came in, we all understood, and we all knew what the mission was. We all knew what the standard was. And when you deviated from that standard, yeah, you'll get it. But after that, I've seen guys run out, cut, all this other stuff because they didn't uphold or they didn't meet the standard that was set. So first and foremost, that's what they need in that locker room, like a head coach that's going to demand respect. Like there's no, this is now my team, and we're going to make it ours. As we continue to go. But right now, there's some things that need to change in this building and change right now. That's where Mike Vrabel, that's how he became so loved in that locker room by those players, because they respected him. Now, it wore off on people when he started losing. It sort of wore off on the people outside the building and maybe inside the building too. But there was a standard that he set right away. And he was a player's coach, but there was a standard that he set. And he expected everybody to achieve that standard of play. And if you didn't, like, you weren't going to be one of his favorite guys, or you were not going to be one of his guys. Let's just say that.
This is what I thought of with this topic, because you've got Mike Borgonzi and I guess to some degree Chad Brinker. I don't know how much they're really working in cahoots, or they're working separately. They're meeting some. I don't know what the dynamic is exactly. It's a newer relationship. But I think what I would be studying is, all right, what are we learning about Cam Ward week in and week out? Where is he thriving? You provided some numbers yesterday, Adam, of the formations, which we were on early. Dan Orlovsky was on it. After about 3 or 4 weeks, the trend became pretty apparent. A lot of shotgun, not a lot of multiple tight end sets early. It's evolved some. But Dan Orlovsky was really buying into, let's make this guy a complete quarterback. We need to make sure this guy can run from underneath center. So in the weeks since they've moved on from Brian Callahan, one of the things, I would say 75% of that press conference when they fired Callahan had to do with the offense, not the defense. They basically said, our offense is terrible. And we think Mike McCoy at the helm, we will see better things. And really, they haven't. It's been about the same.
Mike McCoy gives off major substitute teacher energy.
He is the substitute teacher right now.
Sure, but it's like
not the fun kind of sub,
right?
You're saying sometimes you got the fun sub, the assistant football coach.
Yes,
he's gonna pop in a film, and we're good, man. Hey, study. You got some studying for another class? I'm gonna put this film in when it's over. Just study for the other class. And we're like, that's a good sub right there.
Mike McCoy is the substitute teacher who says, I'm getting paid whether you learn or not. And that's the vibe I get from him. Those numbers you were referencing, Willie, Josh Norris, who is the director of content and fantasy lead at Underdog, tweeted this out the other day. Quote, the Titans are in 11 personnel 78% of the time, first in the NFL.
Right. It's been like that since week 1. So nothing has changed under McCoy.
While using shifts in motion at the second lowest rate,
Now that's interesting.
And our under center just 25% of the time. That's 24th in the league, while being number 1 in 3-by-1 sets. Rookie quarterback, always trailing, play caller gone, all valid reasons. But the pre-snap stuff is all very vanilla compared to the legit post-snap responsibility Cam Ward has had in his first year.
Okay, so all that data is in. Mike Borgonzi is very well aware of that data.
Mhm.
So what's in his mind? Do I need to have a coach that is going to run an offense that has that? Or am I going to I presume that those formations are what Cam Ward is most comfortable in. Can we assume that based on his college?
Mhm.
I would have to think that's a lot of it is like that. That's certainly what Callahan was saying. But am I going a completely different route, knowing the history of when you change coordinators, change terminology, change philosophies, disaster happens more often than not? Or do I need to be looking for a coach that's going to fall in line with those numbers?
I think if you look at if you're trying to develop your quarterback and you're looking at things that he does well, things that he doesn't do well, you have your offense and you try to taper that around what your quarterback strengths are and try to stay away from the things that he's shown weakness, or at least until he can develop. I think right now you're in that phase of evaluating what this quarterback is, what his ceiling is, what type of offense. So they need to be doing more multiple sets and shifts and motions and 3 tight ends and underneath center, out of center, because you got to try to figure out what is he good at. And once you figure that out, I think then you try to match the coach to that philosophy, but then that coach can also enhance it and expand, his ability to play, not just from this sort of, box in a sense, but we're going to start in the box, but we're going to expand him outside the box eventually. So that's what type of coach, at least, or system you need to mirror up, and you need to be doing that now as you're evaluating your quarterback.
615-737-1025. Has the post-Brian Callahan era shed any light on what kind of coach the Titans should hire? Has it changed for you since the Titans fired Brian Callahan? 615-737-1025. If you are looking for a great spot to pregame before the Titans game at Nissan Stadium this Sunday, stop by John Bon Jovi's and pregame with 1025 The Game. JBJ's has the best food on Broadway, cold beer and cocktails, and stunning skyline views, including 2 epic rooftops. Pregame show is brought to you by Tennessee Brew Works and Old National Bank, and we are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service.
Hey, this is Derek Mason. You heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff over at Cool Springs MD for some time. If you set out to lose weight, chances are it's not your first time setting a goal or some type of resolution to shed some extra pounds, but come up short. But I got some news, and it's good, because at Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his staff understands the cycle, and that is why they offer a different approach to weight loss. Their comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize a program specific to you and you only. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
D-May, Svingen, and Donick 1025. The game, we are presented by Bax Homeworks. Financing options are available to make your remodel easier than you think with Bax Homeworks. Get a free estimate now at baxhomeworks.com. Predators General Manager Barry Trotz will join us at the top of the hour, 4 o'clock. We haven't talked to Barry in a couple of weeks, so looking forward to catching up with Barry Trotz in roughly 20 minutes. But the question we were bandying about, I guess you could say, before the break, has the post-Brian Callahan era shed any light on what kind of coach the Titans should hire? One texter on our text line, driven by Wilson County, Hyundai.com, says, "We need Eddie George. I know it sounds homerish, but I believe he's the guy to set the new standard of what it means to be a Titan. Just get him real professional coordinators." As much as Derek Mason loves Eddie George, Derek Mason, what was your one non-negotiable?
College coach.
No college coaches. Even college coaches with previous NFL experience. No college coaches. So Derek is unfortunately out on his friend Eddie.
Yeah, love Eddie, but in this situation right here, I wouldn't want. Ain't no way in hell I would want this to be Eddie's first job under this circumstance. He would probably take it on, and you just never know. But man, oh man, if you want to see your likability go down quick, become a head coach on a bad team.
There have been a great long list of people who returned to where they had fame as a player,
or coach,
or coach, but come back to your alma mater, only to just be vilified at some point.
So I want this team has to be ready to go. And then you would think about a guy like Eddie, but heck no.
Jeremy Fowler of ESPN.com earlier this week reported, well, first he asked the question, who is the hottest name on the head coaching market right now? And he reported, the group of formers, in quotes, coordinators with head coaching experience will be a factor. Defensively, he mentions Vance Joseph, who's in Denver right now, Robert Saleh, the ex-Jets coach, who's now the defensive coordinator in San Francisco, and Brian Flores, who's the defensive coordinator in Minnesota. Offensively, he mentions Matt Nagy, who has connections in Tennessee, Mike McCarthy, Cliff Kingsbury, and Arthur Smith, who, of course, also has connections in Tennessee.
I am not, for the record, saying that it's got to be an offensive guy. Are we in agreement there?
Yeah. It doesn't have to
be. It does
be.
not have to be.
Even though Cam Ward, it's all riding on Cam Ward. I'm fine with any type of head coach who is a good head coach, because I think the number one thing, as we said before, is you've got to be able to lead this group out of the wilderness, starting with nothing but wood and some Boy Scout, tools to start a fire. You have the
Boy Scout kit here. You have
the basics. The magnifying glass so you can get the sunlight through to get the.
We've mentioned
which I never learned.
We've mentioned the Oregon Trail on the show many times before. I think we were talking about it with the quarterbacks. Yes, the Titans are. I loved Oregon Trail when I was younger, and the Titans are that family that has died of dysentery. All of them just dead of dysentery from drinking, disgusting water. The oxen have drowned in the river. Like this is where the Titans are.
Go, yeah.
Yes. They would say
there's
you want
flies around, there's bones, and it's a sad scene.
Right. They were like, hey, do you want to try to cross the river? It might be deep. I'm like, let's go for it. Like, you lost one son and two oxen. And that's where the Tennessee Titans are right now.
Right.
They've lost the oxen. Their family is sick and or dying of dysentery. It's bad out there. You've got no money.
You need a leader.
Yes. Well, the extreme example, and this is a sore subject for some Titans fans, what's happening in New England right now. Mike Vrabel isn't an offensive coach, but we know he is a leader of men, and he's got a veteran offensive coach in Josh McDaniels, who's helping the young quarterback play at an MVP level. So I am not married to the idea either, Willie, that the next Titans coach has to be an offensive guru. By the way, we did this a couple of weeks ago.
But I do think it's important, just meshing it with what we did in the last one.
Yes.
Was does the offensive person you bring in, if it's a coordinator and not the head coach, does it need to line up with what they're doing now to some degree? So you're not throwing a completely different language. For example, he's speaking Russian now, and now you're going to speak Japanese or something, right? A completely different set. I wonder what that would do for Cam Ward. That has to be at least considered, right?
Yeah, it has to be, because what it does is
Along with the oxen.
It pushes the progression back, because you're trying to develop a young man, in one system with guys that are going to also develop within that system. And that's what they were trying to do this year, or that's what they are still trying to do. So you do that, and then all of a sudden now the season goes through, and now you bring in another coach, and this coach changes the offense totally. Now, it can happen. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but the effects of that is, yes, now you set your quarterback back. It's not a bad thing, but now he has to learn a whole new offense over again. And now some of those things that there may be a few things that are applicable to this offense and as far as mechanics and stuff, but then, man, I learned a lot of this but now you got to sort of shift it. So you want to try to get someone, and listen, it doesn't have to be an offensive guru to me. Doesn't have to be a guy that's strictly, a defensive coach. No, I don't care. As long as he understands the task that he's about to take, and that he's a leader of men, and he's get this program back to where I know it can and should be. But then after that, hopefully he hires, after evaluating the team, hopefully he hires somebody that aligns more with the things that the quarterback does well, accentuate those things, and then work on those things that he isn't doing so well, so you could develop him even more.
One texter says, wait. You are way too young to know about Oregon Trail. I am an old soul. I played Oregon Trail in elementary school in the mid-90s. I did. During computer class.
You'll never forget those oxen.
I won't. Here's the other thing I won't forget about computer class. They tried to teach you how to type with all of your fingers, without looking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when they would put a piece of paper over your hand and tape it to the keyboard so you wouldn't look. And, I would look. When the teacher turned around, I lift up the paper. Adam, how are you typing so well and so fast? I don't know. Can I play Oregon Trail now?
See, y'all learn how to do that on a computer. What do we learn how to do that on? Typewriter.
On the stone tablet.
I did take typing. I did take typing.
Exactly. So that's how you had to learn. We had to type it, man. Don't come at me with this computer stuff. No, we had to type it out.
That's white out.
Exactly. You know nothing
change
about
the ribbon.
that.
You have to change the ribbon.
I am very familiar with white out.
Not the way we had to use it.
Maybe not. Chris on our text line says, "Why would you keep this offense? It sucks."
It's
See,
not
now that's the dilemma. That's
but
the
it's
dilemma.
not the off. I don't think it's the scheme that, because everybody.
Right.
It's not like the Titans are running something that other teams aren't running. They all are running. There's half of them that is running this, another half, a third running this, another third running this, another. They all are running sort of a version of the same thing in a sense. So it's not like this offense, the scheme sucks. It just, they don't have enough players.
Here's something interesting via Sumer Sports. The Titans have run 11 personnel 76.4% of the time, which not only leads the NFL, that specific personnel grouping, that specific rate is the highest of any personnel grouping or rate in the NFL, period. So the Titans run 11 personnel more than any other team runs anything else in the NFL.
And I think the downside of that, the upside would be Cam Ward on every snap should know everything about that personnel. They run it so much. That's the bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
The downside, of course, is the defense. The tendencies, I would think, it's predictable. You see what they're going to do, and you're not expecting to get surprised. And so I think it would help to add layers to it over time,
But
right?
Yes. But what were we talking about the week of the Rams game? And I said I watch Rams games and I watch Titans games. And it seems like when I'm watching the Rams, everything seems clean, crisp movements, boom, boom, boom. Guys, they're doing 3 or 4 movements, confusing. But you know what? The Titans are doing, they all are running the same plays, but the Rams have figured out a way to do it in such a way that you don't know what we're doing because we got so much movement in our game that you don't know, you can't pick up on tendency, or it's hard to pick up on tendencies because we're doing so much movement with different guys. We can be running a 3 tight end set, different movement, but the same play as if we were running 3,
Right.
11
It's not like it
personnel.
can't work. It may, from afar, sound like, oh, why would you do that? It's so easy. But there is something to be said for keeping it simple, but doing it really, really well, understanding it, right? The Cowboys with Emmitt Smith and Troy Aikman, I used to hear that a lot, that they really didn't run that many plays. Everybody knew what they were going to run. They just ran it so well with really good players.
But it's not. But it's not
detail
even.
Was there.
But it's not even. It's you figure out, because at New England, they all were good at this. Whether it was New England, whether it was Indianapolis, and those are the 2 teams that we faced a lot. A lot of their stuff would be the same, simple. It's not the play, it's the movement within the play. That's what confuses defense. That's why I think our defenses, when we played them, was so good, because they knew, like, okay, play. But we got to watch this stuff and study it enough that we know it's just a bunch of movements, but it's just the same play. But it's just different people, but it's the same 3 by 1. They're going to do this. They need to expand. Everything can be, you can run basic plays, but if you have the creative formations and motions, that's what trips individuals up. Because that's why you see defensive backs back there, like, that's why you got to communicate. Because it's going to be a slant. It's going to be a slant, but they're doing so much movement, now that throws you off. So you got to be creative within the movement. The play is simple. It's the movement within the play that is not simple, that you got to sort of figure out as the defensive player.
You're saying the Titans aren't doing that because they're not moving guys
They're
around.
not doing that.
So is that easier for the defense to?
It's easier for the defense. Yes.
Yeah.
It's even, and now that they're down to 4 wide receivers, they're going to have to activate more. So it restricts what they can do from an offensive standpoint as far as movement, because now we got a bunch of new guys in here.
615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on the Tennessee Titans, the coaching search, whatever you like. Oxen, any
dysentery,
typewriters,
whiteout.
Yeah.
We've run the gamut here in the first hour. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, Predators General Manager Barry Trotz will join us. I know a lot of you have questions that you want answered, and we will ask those questions of Barry Trotz coming up next. 615-737-1025. The Commodores will take on Kentucky this Saturday at First Bank Stadium. Pregame begins at 1 on 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan, with the kickoff at 2:30. Vanderbilt football brought to you by Gary Force Acura, Jimmy Kelly Steakhouse, and Smoky Mountain Tops. D Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025. The game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. We are awaiting Predators general manager Barry Trotz. It's been a couple of weeks since we spoke to Barry Trotz. Last week, he was at the Hockey Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Then he was in Sweden with the Predators, of course, and he stayed a few extra days in Europe, as is our understanding. So it's been a couple of weeks since we talked to Barry Trotz. So as soon as he calls in, we will start that discussion. But I know a lot of you are going to want to know why the Predators decided not to make a coaching change. Andrew Brunette, for the time being, appears safe. The Predators play on Saturday. This looked like the perfect time in the schedule. If the Predators were going to make a change, this was the time that looked the most logical to do it, because the Predators were off for an entire week after traveling to Sweden. So we'll see what Barry Trotz has to say about that. But, you know, the one thing that our other guest today, Elliotte Friedman, said, and he wrote about it again in his 32 Thoughts column today, about why he wasn't surprised the Predators made a coaching change, was because of how they played, at least in the first game in Stockholm, Sweden. Elliotte Friedman said that if the Predators weren't playing hard for Andrew Brunette, they wouldn't have come back in that game on Friday. It would have been evident that the coaching change was necessary. But the fact that they played hard, they came back to win that game, showed to Elliotte, at least, that the Predators had not given up on their coach.
Right. And then the next game wasn't good at all. So you have two very different, and that's where they are. So,
yes.
But I think at any customary, when you have a break and it's a quarter of the way through the schedule, it's a natural time to evaluate how it's gone.
Let's go to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Predators general manager Barry Trotz. Barry, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We're good, thank you. Let's start with the question a lot of Predators fans want answered. Why have you decided not to make a coaching change after another dismal start to the season?
Well, very simply, a little bit of I believe our coaches have done a really good job. A record may not show it, but they are coaching their butts off. And, you know, it's the easy thing to, as I said in the past, it's the easy thing to do. This is a shared responsibility with the players, myself, and the coaching staff. So I put a little bit more on the it's a shared, like you say, a shared responsibility. So from a player standpoint, we need more from you know, we went out and got some players the last couple of years to add a little bit of offense, and they've come up a little bit dry in the front end. We've restructured our defense, got a lot younger on the back end. We've got 5 guys that are basically 25 years and younger, so there's not a lot of experience there. But at the same time, we feel that there's a lot of growth for them. So our plan hasn't changed, and the coaches and the management and even the players have been part of the plan, that we are in a little bit of a blend mode, and we were going to add some young guys. So that's my answer to that, is that that's the easy thing to do. If I didn't think the coaches were coaching and trying to make the players better and putting in the time and the effort, then I would make a change. That's not anything. A little bit it falls on all three parties. So
I hear what you're saying, Barry, but going back to the start of last season, the team has won 36 of 102 games. The changes you asked Brunette and the coaching staff to make are not achieving the desired results. You're near the bottom of the league in scoring. You're near the bottom of the league in goals against. So what gives you confidence that he and his coaching staff will be able to right the ship?
Well, I don't know. Right the ship. I think we've been in a lot more games this year than last year, for sure. I could say a couple of exceptions. I didn't see the Ranger game because I was part of the NFL or the NHL awards night. But for the most part, we haven't had too many games where I could say we weren't in the game. And I think last year I could say that a little bit more often. I think Andrew's a good coach. So is Luke Richardson. So is Darby Hendrickson. So is Derek McKenzie. They're good coaches. and they're looking for answers all the time. I mean, you look around the league, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of parity. There's a lot of teams that are in different cycles in their league. I look at the cycle that we're in is very similar to probably, I'll just look at the standings in our own conference. Calgary and St. Louis and us have been good teams being in the playoff hunt year in and year out for the last number of years. And obviously I took some swings with our group in free agency because I knew free agency was going to change a little bit, trying to open up the windows. The cupboards were bare. And so we're trying to fill the cupboards, trying to stay fairly competitive. At the same time, some of the moves that I've made in terms of, getting the scoring that we all lacked about, added, a couple of 40 goal scorers, and they need to produce a little bit more. The growth of young guys, a guy like Fedor Svechkov, nothing's ever fluid. A guy like Svedder, for instance, had a decent last year, put up some points. This year, it's been a struggle for him. Do I believe in the player? Absolutely. Do I believe in the coaching staff? I absolutely do. You see whether we have to wait for guys like Wood and LaRue, and you're going to see guys like Schaefer. You're going to see the growth of guys like hopefully Barron and Willsby and Stashny. We've got 5 rookies in our lineup. I'm not making any excuses, but you do need time, and you need a staff that is supportive of the whole plan. So they have been, and it's the easy thing sitting in your chair, Adam, to just say, change the coach. You see that around the league. Would I get a coach bump? Probably might last 5-10 games, but the quality of the coaching that the players are getting is very high.
Barry Trotz is with us. Barry, back in 2022, so this was before you rejoined the organization, the Predators were swept out of the first round of the playoffs, and David Poile took responsibility for the team's struggles under John Hines. He said he, meaning David, had dealt Hines a bad hand by not giving him enough to win. Would you say the same about the roster you have provided Andrew Burnett?
Well, I would say, especially at center ice, I think that's something that we all try to fix, but we were unable to. So there, as you see, there's not a lot of movement at the center ice position throughout the league. No, it's not the strongest hand, no question. And then we've talked about it even before you were in the position you are now, Adam, that we were going to have a plan where we were going to get into a blend and hopefully stay a little more relevant than we have been. So the plan hasn't changed. That's part of the whole process, is that you're going to go through cycles, and we are in that cycle right now where we're going to keep continuing to add young players to our lineup.
Barry, can you give us an example, a recent example? You mentioned the word blend. Can you give us a recent example of a blend in the NHL that worked?
Yeah, the Washington Capitals last year, it worked for them. This year, it's not working as well.
What about it worked for them last year? What specifically did they do?
They ended up winning hockey games.
Well,
they ended up winning some hockey games with some young guys. If you look back at some of those young guys are now struggling. It's part of the NHL. Nothing's, teams that were very good last year aren't as good this year. Teams that were not very good last year are gotten better this year. So every year is a new sort of journey, if you will. And so we've added a lot of young and new players to our lineup.
Barry Trotz is with us. Barry, I remember last season, and correct me if I'm wrong if I have the timing off here. I remember last season, I think it was around the Four Nations face-off break. You said you sat down with your veteran players and asked if they were committed to seeing this through. And if I recall correctly, you said they all said they were. Have you done that this season? And have any players with no movement clauses in their contracts, approached you about waiving them?
No. We've talked about it at the start of the year, Adam. Talked at the end of the year, as I said, the Four Nations, and then we talked about it at the end of the year-end meetings, and everybody's been on board. So from that standpoint, everybody's been on board. Now, there's a lot of noise out there, and a lot of it is coming from the media. There's everything from Andrew Burnett to Philip Forsberg. He's not going anywhere. All those things are out there because those are what the media does. And you've got to speculate, you've got to analyze, you do the same thing we do in terms of analyzing our own team, trying to do the right thing going forward, having a 3 and 4 year plan, not a 1 year plan. We do all that. And so sometimes it doesn't jive with what the perception of is around the I'll say be it in the media, your local media, or in the fan base. But we think about this all the time, and we always plan for the future. We just when you make a move in terms of adding young guys and you're drafting young guys, it just takes time, and we're trying to buy some time so we can get a really good core coming. You've got, as I say, you got Martin and Surin and Mollendijk, and these guys, they just need experience. You just can't throw them to the wolves all the time. So we feel like we've built the cupboards up. The cupboards were bare. I want to look, let's look at the Nashville Predators. I've been a part of it for a long, long time. The Predators have been built on goaltending and defense for a long, long time. Always saying, hey, we need more scores, we need a little more skill. That's always been the little bit of the narrative, if you will. When we became a good team, and I was a part of that a number of years ago, that was started with the Shea Webers, the Suitors, the Renes. Then it's gone to Yossi, Ekholm, Saros, that group. And we're waiting for the next group. We're waiting for the Mollendijks and the Rees and the Ivan Kovics and the Surins and all that. They're just not here yet. It's very similar to when we had a really strong Milwaukee team, and Weber and Suter and all those young players were down in Milwaukee, but it took us a couple years. It didn't happen overnight, and we've moved on from a lot of players. We moved on from some older players that we felt that long term we'll take a swing at. I'll take a swing at a Nick Hague or a Justin Barron because of their youth, and they fit into a different sort of age bracket where they maybe can be the next sort of core guys. But you got to take those swings, and we have because we're trying to get to that next core. But the next core is still young, and it's still a lot of it's not even here yet.
Barry Trotz is with us, Predators general manager. And so, Barry, it's a natural point at a quarter away through the season to see where you are and what it will take to maybe make a playoff spot. You just mentioned your big picture, watching to see when these 20, 21-year-olds are ready to make a jump. So in the meantime, would you say that the goals now still haven't changed at this point of the season, even though now you're a quarter of the way through?
Yeah, no, we're still it's a good push, but I would say that at the same time, we were in this position. As I said a couple of years ago, we were in this position, and we were in this position last year. It seems that it's 3 years in a row we've been in this position. 2 years ago, we found a way to dig ourselves out of it. That's what we'll have to do. We have to have that kind of mindset. If we don't, then it's a wasted season. I think last year I didn't feel like we had that mindset, so I started continuing down the path of what we wanted to do is get younger, collect assets, draft, and develop. And so we've been doing that, and that hasn't changed. I kept saying the plan is always in pen, and the path is in pencil. So that part hasn't changed. And I know it's frustrating for sometimes people listening or people watching or whatever. It doesn't happen overnight. I mean, you look at the teams that are in a sort of a cycle right now. You look at the Chicago Blackhawks and the San Jose Sharks. They went through a cycle where it was some tough nights there.
Tough years.
It's been years. I don't feel I want to do that. In a sense that there's no guarantee that you saw it this year in the draft lottery. You don't get necessarily the top pick. But you want to be in a position to do that, and we were in a position. We just didn't have the luck at the lottery. So, we are going to continue to try to draft well. We're going to develop. We've got to give guys like Schaefer and LaRue, or guys like you're going to see them play hopefully more prominent roles. Kemmel, O'Hara, Edstrom, Mollendijk, Ufko, and then you got a group of kids that are over in Europe, and guys like Surin and Nielsen. We've got Junior, we got Martin, and Reed that are going to be top players. I really strongly believe. And then in college, you got guys like Lee and Rombach and Fink and Diga, people like that. That's a pretty good stable of players coming. But at the same time, they're young, and they're not ready for the National Hockey League. And so we're trying to buy a little bit of time. But that's the exciting part about it, is that we have young guys coming. The frustrating part of it right now is that we're in a blend, and we're not where we want to be in terms of our record. I mean, Roman Josi, for instance, we haven't had a full team with our defense. We didn't have Josi, didn't have Haig, but with Roman Josi, we're 3-3-2. Without Roman Josi, we're 3-7-2. That's a pretty big difference for in a record with one player.
No question.
You see, not having Roman last year, it's for a big stretch of time. Even at the start of the year, Roman wasn't quite himself. But having a healthy Roman Josi, which we did early this year, we're a pretty good team. And I've watched us play against Dallas and the top teams in the league, and we've done okay. There's games that I felt that we should have won, but we came on the wrong side. We got a great test. We're going against Colorado. We lost one regulation game this year, but they're a team that is loaded right now. So it's going to be a good test. Do I feel we can hang with them? Absolutely, I think we can. I don't know if there's a W or not, but I do know that we can hang with them. And on any given night in this league, you win hockey games.
Barry,
we capable.
You mentioned Roman Josi. Anybody who's watched the Predators knows how important he is. I saw him go through pretty much a full practice yesterday. Do you have some optimism that he's close, that we might see him very soon?
Yeah, absolutely. I just Roman has been you wonder how when you have injuries and you start to ramp it up, if it gets aggravated or it takes a step backwards. I have no indication that we've taken a step backwards at all. So I would expect that Roman will be very close to being in the lineup shortly here.
That's good. One thing I want to ask you about Andrew Brunette specifically is something that you talked about throughout the summer about adjusting to the personnel. And Adam looks at the same analytics that I do, and I think you guys look at them, the sport logic, and you guys are clearly giving up a lot less. You're defending better in general than last year. And as you mentioned a lot of these games are up for grabs in the third period. So in that sense, do you think he's achieved what you were hoping, in that he's putting the team in a position to win games in the third period a lot more so than what we saw last year?
Yeah, absolutely. You've said it a lot better than I did. Is that we know that our defense is a work in progress, and I do know this, that you got to stay in games, you got to be in games. If I could fix one thing with our hockey team, is that, or two things. Number one, for us is to get off to good starts. I find when we really struggle, and every team struggles, not only the Nashville Predators, any team in the league for the most part, is if you don't get off to a good start. We're a team, a good example was our last game in Sweden. Pittsburgh jumped on us early and we chased it all game. And it's hard to generate when the team gets a lead and they're playing a certain style, which Pittsburgh is is a top 10 team defensively in the league right now. And the other thing for me that I would like to change is the mentality when we play a game that Andrew and the coaching staff and the players are all they're all on the same page. They're on the same page pretty well every day. But when we have success by playing a certain way, and we win we get a win, the style of play won't change. And a lot of times it's internally. We want to play a little different. It was really hard the night before, so maybe we'll play a little different today. And that doesn't come from I know it's not coming from the coaching staff. It's got to come. We got to embrace the how hard it is to win in this league. It is a hard league to win, and we've been on the wrong side of the real close games this year, more than I would like it to be. I felt that we were sat there. I had some time to reflect when we were in Sweden. I felt that we should have been at the 500 level based on our game because there's a lot of good teams. It's been a lot of parity in the league. I think the West has some juggernaut teams on this side and a couple in our division. So, but the best thing, the best teacher is competition. And so, that's going to make us better. And especially our back end, who's really where I put a lot of focus on the last year, is we got to build a defense for now and in the future. But, that's by the additions of the Willsbys and the Hagues and Purvixes of the world and Barons of the world that, we've got to get them to the next level. And this organization has done a great job of doing that with young players. I mean, like I said, this team's been built on defense and goaltending, and we haven't had the influx of high-end forwards in Nashville, not through the draft anyways. We just haven't been in that position for a lot of those players. So we've had to trade for those guys. I mean, Philip Forsberg, who will be our, the highest scoring forward that in team history, is not really a Nashville draft. He was acquired from Washington. So, he's passing David Legmon. So we haven't had a lot of those high end forwards, but we're hoping to, hopefully a Riker Lee and the Brady Martin and players of that ilk. Luke Evangelista can be a top end guy, and Matthew Wood could be a top end guy. But they're going to need time, and there's no substitute for it.
Barry, one of the things that I've seen a lot of your teams have over the years is if you play that sound defense and you get good goaltending and you have a resourceful offense. I saw some Predator teams of yours in the early years kind of fit that mold. Your Islander teams are a good example. This team seems to be missing that ingredient. Or in some of these close games we're talking about it, at least more often than not. We saw it Friday where they found a way. They were the better team, but nothing went in. Then they get the two huge goals from the star players. And if you could get a little more of that, I think it would look more like I think you wanted to. So how does this team find more resourcefulness to get that extra goal, knowing the limitations that you pointed out with Svechkov struggling and, just where you are right now you don't have a lot of super playmakers that are just going to invent goals every night?
Yeah, well, I think there's enough talent with Forsberg, Stamkos. They've scored. I mean, they don't need as many chances to score, but we've got to get into that area. I think the one area where we've tried to correct the defense, and I think we're on the right path there. We've got the goaltending. I feel we're very confident there. where we need to get to is a little bit of balance. Like, you look at, I was saying a lot of the teams in that I've had in the past, we've had a little bit of balance, and we've lost a little bit of our balance in terms of the Smith, McCarron, late in games, the go-to, these guys are, the Sissons. You had 4 or 5 of those type of guys. One of the things that we tried to do was add offense to our lineup. So, we've added a Stamkos, we've added a Marshall, so we've added a Bunting, we've added those Holla. There's all those players are probably known for more for their offense than they are for their defense, which is sometimes a little bit perplexing because you think we would score a little bit more. So just getting a balance, and a lot of it is a little bit of a healthy mindset, getting the healthy mindset. And for me this year, when we have lost games, we've lost them because of a lot of our decisions with the puck. We try to maybe get a little bit too cute. And then when we don't score, we tend to be a little bit on the outside. So, I think the success of a Matthew Wood, he gets to the inside. When Philip Forsberg has success, he gets to the inside. When I say getting inside, is getting inside the dots. It's a hard place to go to. And there's a certain skill set that you need to be able to pull that off. But at the same time, you got to just keep, we use the term, you got to keep pounding the rock. Well, sooner or later, the rock will crack and you'll bust through. And we just need a little bit more of that staying power. You saw that as a good example is in Sweden. We played a game that we deserved 100% to win, and we were down to the last minute. We didn't change our game from the start of the game to the end of the game, but we stayed with it, and we were able to get a late goal, and then we were able to win in overtime. And that's where I think I've had great success with the teams that I had in Washington and the teams that I had in Nashville, teams that I had in the Islanders, is that we were able to stay on that path. And if you stay on that path long enough, you never know how close you are. You're hanging on by your by your nails, and you don't realize how close you are to getting over the top. And we've let go a few too many times.
Barry, before we let you go, you said to Willie a couple of minutes ago that the Predators haven't had those high-end forwards typically found at the top of the draft. This organization has never really undergone one of those full-scale rebuilds. And I know that you are resistant to that. But when you look at the top scorers in the NHL, almost all of them were top picks. Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, Macklin Celebrini, and Connor Bedard are flourishing this season. You won the Stanley Cup with Alex Ovechkin and Nick Backstrom, both of whom were top picks. So I know that there is luck involved with the lottery, as you mentioned earlier. It doesn't always bounce your way. But how do you find that franchise-altering player without undergoing one of those rebuilds at some point?
Well, I think there's a little bit of luck. There's a little bit of good scouting. There's a little bit of opportunity. I mean, you look at free agency right now. If you look into the next year at free agency, there's not a lot. Everybody is signing their top players. You look at there's probably, I'm going to say 50% of the teams in the National Hockey League are looking for centermen. And so it's easy to say, let's go out and get a centerman, or let's go out and get a top 6 forward. There's not that many out there, number one. And two, there's not too many out there that are available. The one thing that we have going for us is that we have a stockpile of young players that are already in the hopper, but they just need time. They need time to bake a little bit and cook in the leagues that they're existing in, and then moving up the chain, if you will, over the next couple of years, which we didn't have that 2 years ago. We ran out of. We had such a long stretch. That's why I say, like Calgary, St. Louis, ourselves are all in that sort of cycle where We're still got some good pieces, but we know that the end game is we're going to have to get younger. We're going to have to rely on infusing our young players into the lineup, which we will. But there'll be nights where they might be overwhelmed. There'll be nights where they might be just outstanding for us. And a good example is Matthew Wood was probably our best player from what I heard in against the Rangers, where we didn't maybe play our very best. But we are infusing those young players on the back end. Since you've seen, I'm trying to get bigger. I want some big trees back there. I want a couple of mobile guys. Roman Yossi can't play forever, so we've got a Mullendijk and a Reed and Ufko. Those type of style of players have to continue to develop, and we trust they will, and end up in our lineup. We need to draft, some more size. We got the Ronback, who's 6'6". I traded for Haig, who's 25 years old, 6'6". I traded for Gibson, who's in Milwaukee. I thought hopefully we'll see him in time. Traded for Barron. They're all bigger guys. They may not be as refined as some of the guys that we moved, but in the end game is they will be in the window of the next core. And I tried to explain is the next core is where we need to get to, and the next core is going to be the Brady Martins. The next core, I can't tell you how the rest of the season's going to go because it all plays out and it's all, as they say, the path is in pencil. But I can guarantee you this, that you're going to have a good young core that will be in place so that we can continue down the path to try to win a Stanley Cup for the Nashville Predators. I look at in the past, and we've talked about this, it seems like Detroit burnt it right down, and the draft was cruel to them. And even if the draft isn't cruel, you got to hit the right years. I mean, as a guy like Celebrini and Bedard in back-to-back, last couple of years, there's Celebrini and Bedard and people like that. They're the new game changers in the league. And the great thing about the NHL right now is you can see Ovechkin, which you mentioned. You look at Crosby; they were drafted roughly in the same. They're on the back end. They're on the back nine of their careers. They were altered. They changed the game. They changed franchises. Then you look at the sort of the next group of players in Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon. They came in and they changed those franchises, and they're going to be Hall of Famers, and they're elite in their team. And now you're seeing, Bedard taking the next step, but it's taken them 3 years. Celebrini, we're in a great window for the NHL for people to see those first overall picks, those game-changing first overall picks, change a franchise. But they don't come every year. They come every couple years. And, you've got to hit it right that way. And if it's not those years, there's still good players to be had. And I think our scouting staff has done a really good job at that. I'm excited for all the young guys and for our city, our team, our franchise. I'd be really excited because we've got some guys that are just starting to get their toe in the National Hockey League. And you're seeing a Matthew Wood is getting his toe in the National Hockey League. I'd like to see what he looks like 5 years from now. But I don't have that luxury. Right now, he's in the moment, and he's trying to be a good player as a 21-year-old in the National Hockey League. We're going to see that with Reed Schaefer and Kemmel. They're going to get all their opportunities to play, and hopefully what we've done with them as drafting and developing in Milwaukee and here, we're going to have a really fun team in the future and a winning team in the future.
Predators general manager Barry Trotz has been our guest on D-Mace Vingadonic. He joins us every week throughout the hockey season. Barry, as always, thank you for your time. We will chat next week.
All right. Take care, guys.
615-737-1025. A lot to digest there. We will react to it next. You can as well. 615-737-1025. This Sunday, the NFL Game of the Week Eagles versus Cowboys at 3:25 on 102.5 The Game. The NFL Game of the Week is presented by Circus Sportsbook Kentucky and Macero in 12 South.
All right, let's tell you about Loan Pronto. Remember, they're delivering with their rapid equity loans the lowest rates in 3 years. So with Loan Pronto's rapid equity loan, you can get cash out of your home's equity in as little as 3 days. And or you're going to get a better mortgage rate than you have right now if you got stuck with a high one here recently. That's the important point. If you got a low mortgage rate you like there, then look at your home's equity if that's what you need. But with the lower mortgage rates in the last 3 years, if you fit in that category, see if you can save some money here. And your home's equity is yours, so you can use it to your advantage, especially if you've got some big bills to pay that have high interest loans to them, credit cards, car loans, things like that. So call and get the help from Loan Pronto. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Loan Pronto is an A-plus rated service from the BBB and nearly 2,500 five-star Google reviews. So call Loan Pronto and see if they can help you. See how much money you can save, see how much cash you can get today. 615-5, see me that again. 615-499-57. I've only done this 5,000 times. 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781 on approved credit. Visit NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Barry, can you give us an example, a recent example? You mentioned the word blend. Can you give us a recent example of a blend in the NHL that worked?
Yeah, the Washington Capitals last year, it worked for them. This year, it's not working as well.
What about it worked for them last year? What specifically did they do?
They ended up winning hockey games.
Well,
they
yes.
They ended up winning some hockey games with some young guys. If you look back at some of those young guys are now struggling. It's part of the NHL. Nothing's, teams that were very good last year aren't as good this year. Teams that were not very good last year are gotten better this year. So every year is a new sort of journey, if you will. And so we've added a lot of young and new players to our lineup.
That was Barry Trotz moments ago on our program. Always appreciate Barry Trotz coming on. I don't know how many other general managers in the NHL do a weekly radio interview in their local market. So we appreciate that Barry Trotz is willing to come on every week.
And I would say even fewer do long form.
Yes.
I mean, they might say, I got 5 minutes for you or 8 minutes. I mean, Barry was willing to talk about his team for as long as we were willing to keep him there. That was longer than we normally keep him.
Yes.
I think he knew it was a big interview. The fans want to know. It's a quarter way through the season. They're struggling. What are the thoughts, right? What is behind the decision to move forward? They should get Roman Josi back, if not Saturday, then soon, right? It sounds like there's some fingers crossed. If there's no setbacks, he's close. He did practice fully with the team yesterday. I don't know about today, but I think the gist, if there's one theme you take out of it, if you were late, if you're just joining us now, is that he feels like Andrew Burnett and the coaching staff have done what he asked them to do, which was adjust to the talent level, which is limited. And this is what you could tell he falls back a lot on the excitement he has for the pool of players that are not ready to help the team, that they've been building since he got there the last 2 or 3 years, but they're not ready to help them right now. Matt Wood is the guy that is helping them the most. He's 20. And I don't know if Matt Wood is going to be able to end the year with 25 goals. That would be an amazing story if he did. He's probably going to have some ups and downs. He looks like big picture, he could be a good player. And I don't think they have the rising phenom superstar, as you pointed out, Adam, that you usually get at the top of the draft. But he thinks the pool of players eventually will be a core of players that you can win with over time. But the bottom line is right now, as they sit here, those guys can't help them. They're not going to help them. Hopefully a lot of them will help Milwaukee. Some of them will get a taste of it this year, but they're not probably going to be the difference makers. So you have what you have. You have to hope that Roman Josi can come back and play well. And he feels like, I think Andrew Burnett has coached them to at least be in more games than they were in last year. Am I synopsizing what he said fairly well?
Yes.
What would you add?
I think you summarized it well. And he brought up last season's Washington Capitals. I asked him, what's an example of a blend that's been successful recently? He mentioned last year's Capitals. And last year's Capitals won 51 games, had 111 points, massively overachieved. And one thing I'm noticing about those Capitals, it goes back to our conversation yesterday about, we used the Dallas Stars as the example yesterday. Looking at the Capitals roster and looking at the age brackets. Last year's Capitals, they had the battle-tested veterans, of course, headlined by Alex Ovechkin, John Carlson. You could throw Tom Wilson in that group. He's not as old as Ovechkin and Carlson, but he's in his 30s. You had that middle class, which the Predators don't really have. The Capitals had Pierre-Luc Dubois in his mid-20s.
Which was a big risk.
It did pay off handsomely
last year,
but it was a risk. Yes,
it was a big risk.
Yes,
and the other guy you're going to mention, just as big a risk.
Jacob Chikrin.
Injury up and down his career.
Yes,
but it came together for both of those guys last year.
Dylan Strome, another
another guy that was a cast off. They rolled the dice on guys and got a resurgence in the middle class years.
And then
that's an interesting.
And then they had the younger group. Alexi Protas was 24. Connor McMichael was 24.
See, 24 to me is not young. That you should be close to what you are by 24. You're past your first contract.
Mm-hmm.
Decisions have to be made on you. So that's at the fringe of young.
But it goes back to what we were talking about yesterday with the Predators. We know they've got the battle-tested veterans covered. Yossi, Forsberg, Saros, O'Reilly,
right.
Stamkos,
And there's a major
Marchessault.
question on, can that group give you enough to win right now? And I think Barry Trotz knew 2 years ago that this time would come. And that question, I would even say last summer when he added Stamkos and Marchessault to the group, that he knew there was a time stamp that you hope will extend further than a lot of people, but you knew it was a risk that group could continue to carry teams, right, without some help as they age. And that's his hope, that those guys could have a longer shelf life than some, and that the young guys would arrive a little quicker. But neither has really happened right now, right?
By the way,
not today as we sit here.
By the Capitals, by the way, 10-8-2 this season. So
right, they've leveled off some. And the big theme in the East is everybody's really jumbled up. There are a few points from being in the playoffs, and there are a couple points from being at the bottom. But I think the Predators would take 10-8-2 right now, right?
Yes, they would. Absolutely. Let's go to Jerry in Nashville, who's been waiting on our phone line. Jerry, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hey, thanks. I'm very definition of a casual fan. When they signed Stamkos, Marchessault, and Shea, I did not know who they were. But listening to the radio, I was very excited, for the outlook, and so very disappointed in the way they panned out, and also really love Barry Trotz, but I'm questioning his general managerialship, if you will. Not sure how that's going to pan out. And one of the reasons is because, we constantly hear on the radio that we can't get rid of those people because nobody will take on those contracts. And I'm like, well, if nobody else will take them on, then why did we give them to them? So
it's a good question, but I would challenge that notion.
Thank you, Jerry.
Based on what we saw yesterday. I think it was Chris Johnston, who was a very good, he does this every year, right, in The Athletic, where he lists the trade board. It's an evolving thing. It'll go from now. It's almost like Joe Lunardi with the field of 68, right? He'll start early. But he put his board out there. 3 of the guys that would fit, at least 2 of them, that would fit in the category that, hey, you can't offload that contract. I think we're going to find that if the time comes, that they can like Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, and Ryan O'Reilly all in the top 10 of his trade board right now. And of course, there are some clauses in contracts that you would need the blessing of those players. But I believe in time, if they need to get to that point, and as you sit here today, you're 20 games in, and you have to be looking big picture and say, at what point do we need to go down that road? Right now, it's not time. I asked him that. The goals are the same now. But the fact is, they're going to have to play way better than they played to be in the playoff race. And if you're not in the playoff race at a certain point, you're almost better off starting to move ahead with the plan for the big picture and hope that the kids at that point are ready to at least hold their own and not be thrown to the wolves. But I think the notion of you can't trade any of these guys. I don't believe that.
And Barry Trotz made it sound like he is uninterested in trading
today. Yes,
a lot today.
Well, he mentioned Forsberg. Okay, he didn't mention Stamkos, Marchessault. The O'Reilly is a very delicate one, as he said many times. Right, he's treating him differently, as if he has a no movement clause. These are very special, decorated players. When you're getting to that. And so I do think you would have to have conversations. But 20 games in, he's not ready to do that yet. I think if we ask him 10 or 20 more games down the road, if this track continues, then I think his thoughts, just like any general manager, would evolve some.
You mentioned if if a team isn't in the playoff picture within a certain frame of time, you need to look ahead. I mean, I think the Predators are there right now. I mean, I know it's November 20th, but the Predators are 8 points out of a playoff spot. Take that for what it's worth. Thanksgiving is often used as a guidepost for teams trying to figure out what their playoff chances are. I did this math. Since the NHL instituted its wild card playoff format in 2013-14, and if you exclude the COVID shortened season, so 2019-20 and 2020-2021, so that's 10 full seasons of data. Roughly 3/4 of the teams that were in playoff spots on Thanksgiving made the playoffs. So the Predators' chances of making the playoffs, even right now, appear minuscule. So I'm not sure how much more time Barry Trotz should wait if he's getting calls on these players. And look,
Are they getting calls on these players?
We'll ask Elliotte Friedman in 5 minutes. He'll know.
We'll do that. There aren't a lot of trades that I'm seeing. Has there been a big trade? Like, these things materialize over time. I think you can privately have your evaluation that what you don't have to commit to it right now. Right? You don't have to commit, but you can be moving down the road behind the scenes of here's what I plan to do. It's all predicated on you've got to buy time. Who are you going to put in, right? If you trade 5 guys and you clear the decks, what he has said repeatedly in that interview is, I don't want to throw a bunch of 20, 21-year-old guys to the Wolves and get your butt kicked every night. That's counterproductive to their development. So you have to handle it carefully. So you don't have to decide today, but realistically, Adam, you're not wrong. Right? They have 16 points. The Wild have the last playoff spot at 24. The percentages, they're going to have to play close to 600 hockey to get to. I did the math. They would need to go, and you could do this if you go on a run. 36, 20, and 6 from here on out would get you to 94 points, which would get you on the cusp. I think if it stays flat, 36, 20, and 6, they haven't played well enough to get anywhere close to that.
By that math, the Predators would have to win as many games the rest of the season as they've won since the start of last season.
Last season doesn't matter. Last season doesn't count. This is this season. But they have to play way better.
At the sample.
I'm looking at the sample.
I'm looking at
the sample of this season where they're 6-10-4. They haven't been a great team. They need to play. They need to look like a different team, offensively in particular. I think they've got the goaltending. I think they're giving themselves a chance to win. But you have to be a detailed, resourceful team, find ways to score, and they have not done that through 20 games. You have to they need to show that in the next 10, 15 games, or it's going to stay right on the same track, which will logically take you down the road that it's on right now. It's on a certain path. It's up to that team and Andrew Burnett and those guys while they're in there to change the tone, or it's going to be obvious what they need to do.
615-737-1025. We will take your reaction to Barry Trotz's interview with us earlier this hour. If you missed it, it will be up soon wherever you get your podcast. Elliotte Friedman of Sportsnet will join us. We'll talk more about what the Predators could do with our friend Elliotte Friedman, Sportsnet NHL insider. That's coming up next. 615-737-1025. Saturday's college football game of the week is Kentucky at number 14 Vanderbilt. 2:30 p.m. on 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan. Presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants and Circus Sportsbook Kentucky. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com.
All right, let's talk F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Check out their website, myfmbank.com. Find the nearest location to you, and then ask yourself, are you getting the personal touch with your banking? Do you know who you need to talk to, who you can talk to? If you have some banking questions that come up, and inevitably they're going to come up. The older you get, the more things going on in life, stuff comes up. That's F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. They want to be that source for you. They want you to be comfortable calling them. Hey, what are the tools that I need for success? How do I make my financial life easier? Just go to their website, find the nearest location. They're scattered about 20 locations in our listening area: Clarksville, Hopkinsville, Kentucky, West End Avenue in Nashville, Murfreesboro, Mount Juliet, Springfield, etc. myfmbank.com. Check them out. We take it to the bank every Friday at 5:45 here on 102.5 The Game. It's F&M Bank, member FDIC.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025. The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. Let's go to our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com and welcome in our friend Elliotte Friedman, Sportsnet NHL Insider, who is presented by Old National Bank. Get old. Elliotte, I don't know if you had an opportunity to listen to our interview earlier in the show with Barry Trotz, but if you did, I would love your takeaways.
You know what? I didn't get a chance, Adam. I usually listen to it after the show. I couldn't do it earlier. But I was just asking on the phone, so what were the highlights?
Well, how much time do you have? Because we did keep Barry Trotz for more than 30 minutes.
You kept me. I mean, I'm booked for like 15, so you tell me.
We'll have to sift through the cliff notes.
Well, he defended Andrew Burnett and the coaching staff, which was no surprise. You noted that as well in your 32 Thoughts column today on sportsnet.ca. I asked him if any of the players with no movement clauses have approached him about waiving those no movement clauses. He said no. He specifically mentioned Philip Forsberg by name and said he's not going anywhere. I know that there has been some speculation about Forsberg. He said no go on that one. He brought that one unprompted.
Interesting. Yeah, I noticed that there's speculation out there, and sometimes you don't know if there's anything real or just the evil guys in the media just throwing stuff out there. And I kind of got the impression that that was just stuff being thrown out there. So I'm interested in hearing that. You know, I do, like I said, I'm not surprised about Burnett. It was funny, I was talking somewhere about this last week, and we were kind of both agreeing that these were big games for them in Sweden. And, you know, the moment that you guys came back and they won game one, so that person texted me right away, was like, he's safe. And I kind of agreed. I just felt that if the Predators were showing no life, if they were absolutely lifeless, then I think it might be another answer. But as long as they're competing, I could see Barry not wanting to make a change because he recognizes the flaws on his roster. You know, as for players, we'll see how that changes over time. You know, I mean, there's still lots of time here, and there's still time to see what the market's like, so we don't have to make those decisions today.
Elliotte, I do want to ask you about something that you wrote in your 32 Thoughts column. You touched on new Predators owner Bill Haslam, and you wrote, quote, the toughest thing with trying to read Nashville's decision-making process is that we don't have a long runway with new owner Bill Haslam. You mentioned he went on the Canadian road trip earlier this season, joined them in Sweden as well. Here's what I want to ask you about. You said, quote, I've heard that in his wish to make informed decisions about the future, he is making sure he spends, quote unquote, up close time before committing to anything. What exactly does that up close time entail based on what you're hearing?
So it's basically being around the team and seeing the way it works, right? Like I think one of the reasons he went on those trips is, you know, he's been a minority partner. He's built up equity in the team over years. Now he's getting a chance to be like the majority owner of the Predators. And now he ultimately will be making the decisions. And I just think he wanted to see, like, how does the NHL work? How do you go about, how do things look on a day-to-day basis? What does a road trip look like? How do people interact? Those kinds of things. And also, I think in those moments, like, unless you're around full time every day, you don't have a true picture of what everybody's personality is. And he's not around full time every day, at least in terms of the roster. But he does get a chance to see everyone himself. He does get a chance to see how does a road trip function? How does the team environment function? You know, I mean, he's been around a long time. He's done a lot of things. He's been very successful. I think he has an idea of what is successful looks like and what successful doesn't look like. But I think, excuse me, I think that one of the things he wants to see is how does the team dynamic work and how is it supposed to work? And that's what I think he's getting a handle on, Adam, is, you know, he is about to make a decision that, or decisions, or have someone make decisions that could affect the long-term history, the future of the franchise. And I think he wants to make sure he has an idea of how that kind of stuff works, or what the ramifications are, or what his team is like before he makes those decisions.
Elliotte, your connection is a bit in and out. I don't know if that's something that you can help us fix before we continue. We want to make sure everybody hears what you have to say.
We might need to do the oldest trick in the book: unplug it and plug it back in, or just do a quick hang up and call back.
Is this better where I am right now?
No, it sounds like you're in a little bit of a cave.
Okay, let's call back. And
Okay, we'll get Elliotte back on the line in just a moment, because we want everybody to hear.
We
what
want
Elliotte Friedman
to
has
be
to
coming
say.
through loud and
Yes.
clear.
Yeah,
in Nashville,
Sounded like he was
Tennessee.
in a wind tunnel and he kept getting further and further and further away.
Hopefully, he's not floating out to sea or anything like that.
Exactly.
He sounded like a fast food drive-through call box. We've all been there.
We've all been there.
Right? But the Haslam part of this is interesting, just because we're all sort of getting to know what kind of owner he is. We don't know much about him. And
Well, that's the ironic. Is it ironic?
let's not go there right now.
But I mean, he has been a name in our area for a long,
Yes.
long time. So there
The
is
Haslam
quite a bit
name
that
is
you know out of him.
synonymous with the state
yeah.
of Tennessee. All right, Elliotte, let's try this again.
Okay, how's this?
That's
Much better. Yay.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Thank you for doing that.
All right.
Now, and then Elliotte,
No problem.
because Barry mentioned a lot about these young players and the wait time on these young players. And listen, this organization hasn't been through something like that where they had to wait on a big group of young players to be added to their team to sort of elevate it. But when he's talking about the young players, is that sort of a stamp of approval for the head coach, knowing that, hey, listen, this thing may not go, it may not transpire as quickly as we want to, so we may have a lot more patience with our head coach? Or is it more so him just talking to the fan base, like, listen, it's going to take a long time, or it's going to take some seasons for this thing to get where I am envisioning it to be?
Derek, I think it's B. I think it's the message to the fan base. And you know what? Like, sometimes if there was one thing I wish that people would do, is they'd stop getting cute with the words, right? And I know people are terrified of the word rebuild. And, you know, you want to keep your fans interested in coming to the building. But I think, and it's not, I don't think it's just this is a Barry Trotz thing. I think this is an everywhere in sports thing. People just get caught up on what the word is, right? They don't want to say rebuild. They don't want to say we're starting over. So they use words like retool, or I can't remember what the exact word he used with Kyle Dubas in that piece last week.
A blend.
Kind of talking about a blend. Okay, that's what it was. And I was like, I remember I watched it and I was like, geez, I give him credit. He came up with a new one. Like, I didn't even know what that meant when I listened to it. You know, I think the thing is this. Right now, if you look across the NHL, there is no better time to sell a rebuild than right now. And the reason you can sell it right now, guys, is look at Anaheim, look at San Jose, look at Chicago, okay? These are teams, one of them's in your division, all three of them are in your conference. They are teams that look like they're really going now because they struggled and they drafted high and they look like they hit a bunch of home runs and now they're starting to go. The problem is there was a lot of pain to get there. You know, Pat Verbeek entered this year, the GM of the Ducks, and he basically knew if he didn't make the playoffs, he's in big trouble. The Sharks were getting pounded at home. The Blackhawks, I mean, you guys see the Blackhawks firsthand. They were a dynasty, and then they were scraping the bottom of the barrel. There is a lot of pain. There is a lot of hurt. Nobody wants to tell their fans that they're going to be in for a world of hurt. It's a hard thing to do. And I don't know how long like this is going to be for Nashville. I see a lot of bright youth in your organization, but there is pain with that, and the worry about that is when you go through this, you get pummeled for a few years until you get there, and then people are obviously worried about what happens if we turn into Buffalo and we don't make the playoffs for 15 years. It's a scary thing, but I think reality is kind of hitting you guys in the face a bit. It is time to try something a bit different. And I think that's what kind of correlates with what, like the one thing about Bill Haslam is he doesn't know the league very well, right? So I think he's trying to talk to people and say, okay, for teams that have been successful, how does it work? What do you do? What are the decisions that have to be made? What does your organization look like? Things like that. So if the Predators are going to truly commit to this blend, it's not only about, what they're going out to get, but who makes those decisions and how they get made. And I think that's what you guys are going through right now.
Now, you've mentioned, 3 stories where four, where rebuilds are starting to you're starting to reap the benefits of it now. And it's been a long road for those teams. But Barry mentioned the Washington Capitals and their blend, but how many other blends out there that have been successful?
You mean with having some success without breaking it way down for 5 to 7?
Exactly, absolutely,
years,
without breaking it way. And he seems like that's what he's trying to do.
That's why I get caught up in the words. I'm like, oh my God, this is why, you see, Derek, I'm an English major, but I don't have my degree. I never finished. It's because of these situations. I'm like, I wish I would have finished my degree so I could understand all this stuff better. Look, I think the way Washington does it is the thing about Washington was, yes, they tried again, and they made a lot of really good. Number one, they made a lot of really good decisions. Like they had a summer 2 summers ago where, unfortunately, with Nashville, with a lot of things that we thought looked good didn't work. They made a lot of decisions that did work. So it really helped them. Number 2, Washington has always been really good at finding players without the highest draft picks. Now, 20 years ago, they knocked 2 out of the park, Ovechkin and Nicholas Backstrom. But since then, if you look, they've found a lot of really good players, like guys who were key parts of their championship team without drafting the highest. So I think that's the thing that matters the most is, hey, do you have good players who've been in your organization and you consistently find good players without drafting the highest? And I think that's, Derek, that's got to be the key is, can you find players without going number 1? And, the other thing, and I think Barry can really sell this, or the Predators can really sell this, is I think players want to play in Nashville. I do. It's not going really well right now, unfortunately. But if you were to rank the places that players want to play in this league, all things being considered, 1 to 32, I think Nashville would be pretty high on that list. And I think you can sell that. But to me, it's like, I think what Barry's trying to say is we've got to be better at drafting and developing. We've got to be able to find guys. And our goal is, if we have to tear this down a little bit, we're not doing it for 5 or 6 years. We're going to try to do it fast.
Talking to Elliotte Friedman from 32 Thoughts. And Elliotte, I noticed, I mean, it's very early, but the groundwork is being laid of if the Predators stay on the track that they're on. I think it's you try to get a gauge of what kind of value do you have. And it looks like some of the early trade boards that I see do have a lot of Predators that are up there. I'm curious what the market looks like to you. And I realize it's going to look very different probably in January and February because there's a lot of hockey to be played between now and then. But if teams are looking around and saying, okay, are there pieces here? Do you think Nashville has some pieces that could be assets?
Yes. Now, I think one of the reasons, Willie, that there's a lot of Predators on these trade boards is because of where you are in the standings. Like, it's only logical, right? If you guys were a lot higher, then nobody would have some of these players on their trade boards. You know, like, I think this. Like, Ryan O'Reilly, we've talked about him ad nauseum. If it gets to a situation where he wants to go somewhere, like, he's going to have value to him. Like, there's no question to me that that's the case. I think you have a bunch of guys that are veterans around the league and people know them, like Bunting, like Holla, that you won't necessarily knock it out of the park, but you can get things for them. I think that one of the things that's weird right now is, especially in the Eastern Conference, Willie, I've never seen the standings this close, like 6 weeks into the season. So, you know, there's not a lot of players out there right now. Things will separate. Some teams will fall out, and the market will increase a bit. But I think that you guys do have players there, particularly a guy like O'Reilly, that if he goes out on the market, a lot of people are going to be lining up and saying, you know what, that's a guy we'd really like to have on our team. Depending on, like, I'm not counting Forsberg because Barry said forget that. I'm not putting Roman Josi out there because I've got absolutely zero reason to believe that that is even on anyone's mind. I'm talking about guys who I think actually could get dealt. O'Reilly is probably the jewel in your crown if he wants to go.
Is there any concern? Like you mentioned, the East is so jumbled up. The West is fairly jumbled, but of the teams, do you think at this point the Blackhawks? I think we can say the Ducks. They're for real until otherwise, right? They're going to have
for real. Yeah.
What's your take on the Blackhawks? Is this like the numbers look pretty good, right? They're plus 15. So the Predators haven't played them head to head yet, but what is this jump a real deal?
I think it's the real deal. I think that, you know, but Willie, I'd say the same thing I'd say about Anaheim. Their best players are their young players. Okay. They've never done it over 82 games. Now, I think they will. I think the question is whether they will do it this year. It's a compressed season. You know, a lot of them are going to be getting time off during the Olympics, but it's a compressed season. It's 82 games and not a lot of days. The injuries are piling up around the league. I mean, I worked last Saturday, our hockey night day. There were like 9 guys who ended up on long-term injury after that night. So, like, it's hard. There's an attrition in this league. But I see Anaheim and I see Chicago as teams who are like, they have really good young players who are really going to be good for a long time. But they haven't done it over 82 games yet. And those are the guys who carry the mail for the team. And that's my only question about them is, do they have the staying power for this year in their first real time at this? I'll say this too, Willie, that Lucas Dostal, who's the goalie in Anaheim, he's the real deal. He's young. He's just gaining experience. He's the real deal. Spencer Knight, who's the goalie in Chicago, he was a first-round pick. He had some mental health challenges away from the rink. Everybody knew he had the ability. It was whether or not he was ready to be the number one guy. He's been unbelievable for them. And if you have goaltending that erases some of your mistakes, those kinds of teams are going to win. And right now they both have it.
Elliotte Friedman has been our guest on D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick. He joins us every Thursday during hockey season, and he is presented by Old National Bank. Get old. Elliotte, great stuff as always. We'll catch up next week.
All right, guys. Oh, now, do you guys have a show next week? Is it next week?
Oh, that's right. We don't have a show.
We don't.
Thank you for reminding us that it's Thanksgiving. We can still talk on Thanksgiving if you'd like.
Well, you know what? If David wants to send me a text and you guys want to do it a different day, you let me know. But if not, have a great Thanksgiving to all the great hockey fans of Nashville.
Thank you, Elliotte. Thank you for reminding me of the holiday. I appreciate it.
No, no problem. You would have remembered. You would have remembered.
Eventually. We'll catch up with Elliotte sometime soon, maybe earlier next week, because, of course, we don't have a show on Thursday because it's Thanksgiving. But that'll do it for us today, a shortened program, because the Vanderbilt men's basketball team will be taking on Texas Southern at the top of the hour, and the pregame show begins in just a matter of minutes. So we will be with you tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Mitch Light will join us to talk college football, as will Chad Withrow. We'll talk more college football and NFL with our friend Chad Withrow. Take it to the bank. It'll be a fun way to wrap up the week. We will talk to you tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
Be loved, love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful Thursday. I love you, the team.